Good morning, good afternoon, good almost evening time for you. No matter where you are in the world, you're watching Max with the RHMax channel. We've got Nerd Girl on the show today. Should be a fun show. I've been following her for a while. I think when I first got Twitter a few months ago, we had some conversations and some fun ones about rich hard maximalism and otherwise too. So that'll be fun to get into. I think it's a beautiful day. I feel good. I got a good aura right now. I feel like my aura, everything's good. The yin, the yang is good right now. Gonna take a deep breath and let's bring her in. Let's bring Nerd Girl to the show. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Yes. Thank you again for joining. I think you're one of the few people I haven't had a conversation on chat with yet. Like I said, we talked over Twitter on and off, every once in a while in the last few months. But you're someone in the community. I remember when you first got on stream with Richard. Maybe was it 3 years ago or so?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, I remember that, and I was like, wow, Nerd Girl. Okay, and that's when I first got to know you, and I was like, okay, this is definitely someone who I want to follow in the community, and just kind of seeing your evolution from here has been really interesting. And you just, now you're on BitBoy now, and that's awesome. It's really exciting to see you around crypto and all the cool stuff you've been into. So welcome. I'm glad.
Thanks for inviting me.
Glad to be able to chat with you.
It's really been a weird week. It's like I've been popular again all of a sudden. I don't know what happened, but this last week it's like I just got stacked on a whole bunch of things back to back, and I've been like completely out for so long. It's been a really weird week.
Yeah, it's funny. I think maybe I don't know. I have a feeling, especially with Corey and you went on Money Gang. I have a feeling they saw I had scheduled you. They're like, oh, another person I haven't talked to, and I bet I just have a little bit of feeling that they might have got it from me. But that's totally cool. I'm glad they did. I'm glad more people are you're reemerging, I guess, in a way too. So
yeah,
I don't know. It gets I've never been that popular, but I imagine it comes up and down in waves. So I don't know. It's cool. I think you definitely have a lot of your perspective in crypto is something that, there's a lot of people that come in, especially in the RH ecosystem, they come in, they've been here like a year, 2 years, maybe, you've been around for a while. I've been around passively for a while. So I think I always enjoy talking to veterans in the ecosystem. It's funny to call ourselves veterans after, 3 or 4 or 5 years or whatever it is. But in crypto, it's only been around a decade or so, and it's only been actually popular for a half a decade or so. So anyways, very cool to get you on the show. Why don't you, I know probably the people who are watching who are fans of yours, I'm sure they know your story. They've heard it before. Maybe if they watched Money Gang or Corey lately. But can you just kind of give us a walkthrough of how'd you come up with your name? How'd you get into crypto? How'd you, come across Richard and kind of, going back and forth throughout the ecosystem? What's your story?
Yeah. So Nerd Girl is, my first name is Nicole. My last name is Grinstead. Nerd Girl, those are my initials, NG. So I guess, and then 007, just kind of like, I was actually trying to get this website that was called Undercover Nerd, but they wanted like several $1,000s, and I was not going to pay several $1,000s. So I was trying to come up with something that like kind of gave the same kind of vibes. And that's where the 7 came from, because it's James Bond.
Right.
And then like, how did I get into crypto? So in 2016, my boyfriend at the time was like totally obsessed with Ethereum and wouldn't talk about anything else. So I like kind of learned through him at first. And then I wanted to I had questions that he didn't know the answers to. And I wanted to have something like valuable to add to the conversation. So I started, learning a little bit on my own. And the more that I learned, the more that I was like, oh, I should be involved with this. So then I eventually like bought, crypto myself. And then I had seen some of the parallels between crypto and what I was studying before I got into crypto. So it was religious studies. So I had dropped out of my PhD program. So I sort of applied the same theoretical framework that I was using for my dissertation study to study different tribes in cryptocurrency. And Yeah, so I like, it was a kind of unique idea, like a social anthropology idea that like no one was really doing yet at the time. And then just after having been kind of involved for a little while, I realized that there was a lot going on behind the scenes, and that if I was just an outsider, I would never be privy to like everything. I mean, you're never privy to everything regardless, but like there was so much that I would never understand if I didn't become professionally involved or affiliated with cryptocurrency.
Right.
So I got a job as a journalist at a crypto media outlet. And while I was there, I found out how controlled and censored the crypto media is.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to like do something about it. So I started using, connections that I had gained from working in journalism to talk to different people and to highlight the fact that this was a problem and see if people knew that it was a problem. And it seemed like the people who did know that it was a problem, like a lot of people didn't know that it was a problem, didn't want to accept that it was a problem. And a lot of the people who did know that it was a problem were completely okay with it because they were benefiting from it. So
I think the phrase is, what is it, like, tell a man, what is that phrase where it's like, you try to convince a man that of something that takes away his income and he'll never believe it, that type of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I mean, but there were people who were like actively controlling it and definitely knew that that's what they were doing. So like, not that that's different from, mainstream media or anything, just like it seemed particularly gross in cryptocurrency. Like, it kind of like shattered my idealistic view of what cryptocurrency was. And then, well, because I was aware of like how much, I don't know, suppression of information goes on, and how much like there's like one narrative that everybody is supposed to support, and if anybody goes against the grain, then they're shunned. So that, like, I mean, because I was aware of that, because of my, studies of tribalism and cryptocurrency, I was like talking about all of those things on social media. I didn't have a very big following at the time, so there weren't very many people who were paying attention to me, but some of the early Hexicans were. So it was like, RG3 and Amorous Brown and Hexo who had said, hey, you got to apply your study of cryptocurrency or, of the evolution of tribalism to the Hex community and what's going on here. And I was already aware of Hex during pre-launch phase because I worked in crypto media. So I knew, what was kind of going on behind the scenes and what kind of narrative they were pushing. But I just hadn't really had the opportunity to like get involved at like a, I don't know, significant level or anything. So like that was kind of an open invitation, and I just kind of ran with it.
That's when you talk about actually being in academia and journalism stuff, I can tell just speaking with you over text and video and stuff, you're very well spoken. You definitely bring like a professionalism too, and that's something it's rare in the community. There's so many people who just come off and you're like, what was your last job? Like, I mean, nothing against anyone in the community, but it's just like, I talk to some people, I'm like, what did you do before crypto? And it's, it's usually not something fancy. It's usually not a professional in the industry of any sort. It's just kind of like, yeah, I started trading coins and now I'm here. But it's refreshing to see people who, have did things in real life and did things professionally. And then they come into the community, or they come into crypto even broadly, and they apply those skills. They apply their way of solving problems. And that's something I think is very important to have. We need all the support we can get in all the different verticals, but especially we should value people who come from professional backgrounds and things like that. So that's something I didn't know. And I'm thankful to have you around for that, if nothing else.
I mean, there's also that like I work professionally in this industry too. So there's some degree of professionalism that I have to, portray.
When you asked me to send you a calendar invite, I was like, she's got her stuff together. Okay, I like that.
No, it's really just like I used to not do it, and I used to find it annoying when people would ask me to do it for them. So I'd be like, oh, can't you just like write it in your own calendar? But then now I'm like, I kind of understand there's like different things on different days, and if I don't have it blocked off, then
Yes, no, the same way. I mean, there's people who a lot of people work full time still. A lot of people who have families to take care of, and they're not just sitting around trading crypto coins every day. So yeah,
Right.
and then but even the people who are and aren't, there's there's kind of a separation of people who are very organized and have want to systematically and be programmatic about getting things out of the way and getting stuff done. And then there's the crowd who's just like every day is just whatever happens, which can be that kind of controlled chaos can be fine too. It just depends on your personality and what works best with you. Obviously, for me, coming from engineering type background, I prefer the more programmatic. Like, okay, I want to set everything up. I want to prep beforehand. I want to make sure, again, with the streams and stuff, produce quality content, produce substance. But I know everyone has their different style. So very cool. I feel like I got to know you much better now. Very cool.
Okay.
So yeah, so how you found Richard and HEX and all this stuff, you kind of started applying some of the work and some of the studies and things. Like, I guess the HEX community was just a good community to try to kind of test some of that stuff and research.
Right. Again, it wasn't my idea. It was like, I mean, I had seen it and I had reached out to Richard really early on, but he wasn't, I was no one important and, like whatever, it didn't work out. And, but then, so when the HEX community approached me, it was like, oh yeah, I saw that months ago, yeah, okay. So I'll go do that.
Very cool. Very interesting. Let's go through your Twitter too. And I know some of the stuff too, just trying to get an idea of some of your projects and background and stuff. You mentioned maybe what was it in 2022 you unbanked yourself because you had like 2020. Sorry, 2020. I don't know why I said 2020. Yes, 2020. You had unbanked yourself, and because you had an issue with your bank, and that sort of some, take us through that story. And was that sort of an aha moment for crypto and its importance and things?
Well, I mean, I definitely knew already how important crypto was for people who lived in like, more emerging economies, like places that are more difficult to transact in, places where, I mean, I don't want to say like places where you can trust your government even less, because like we cannot trust our government, but like, but I knew that it was really important. I knew that, I don't know, I wouldn't say it was really an aha moment. It was more like the bank that I was using at the time there are no physical locations in the state where I live now. So I probably could have like gone into the bank and argued it with them and gotten my account reopened. But because I didn't live in this state and I really didn't want to like, drive for 6 hours or something to get to someplace where I could go to that bank, I was like, well, maybe this is a sign that like you really can't trust banks with your money, like really, really, even less. So I was like, okay, fine. I just won't have a bank account now. And I'll see how that goes. And it's like, it's not easy. Like, it's not easy. It's not fun. It's definitely not something that I would like recommend.
That's super fascinating. Like, there's not a lot of people in the world, in the developed world, who don't have a bank account. What are some of the things you can and can't do? Like, what are some of the things that you got to use as workarounds to move money and things?
So I would say so I would say that I do unbanking like the wrong way. Because there's people like Joel Valenzuela, he's like known as the Desert Lynx, and he's a really big proponent of Dash, who does unbanking the right way, right? Like he, lives in New Hampshire in a place where it's like unbanked friendly, and he transacts in Dash and knows how to do it so that merchants won't even know that he's doing it. And he actually uses cryptocurrency like on a regular, daily basis. I am like far lazier. So like for a really long time, I just had no bank account. And if I needed to buy something like online, I would ask people like, hey, can I give you cash and you buy it, for me? But that really got annoying. So I eventually got a Venmo debit card so that I could make, online purchases and, so that I could have access to money like to use in my life. So Venmo is kind of it definitely is. It's a bank account. The big thing that I would say impacts me, and this doesn't happen very often, but it has happened a couple of times, is that there is a maximum spend limit on Venmo. So you can spend a maximum of $5,000 a week. And I don't normally spend $5,000 a week, but there have been a couple of times where, like, when I took my daughter to Disney World and I needed to pay for our hotel room, and like I couldn't even pay for our hotel room, or really annoying stuff like I didn't realize that Venmo doesn't work outside of the United States. So I went to Dubai and I couldn't pay for my hotel room. So I had to, like, luckily Funding Jim was in town, and I like asked him to, to come to my hotel, pay for my hotel, and then I transferred him the money in Venmo.
That time, Funding Jim was also in Dubai and helped you out. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. But it was so there's like lots of little annoying things like that. I definitely don't recommend it.
Yeah. It's, I mean, so you do it? Was it purely out of principle, or did you feel like you had a plan where you're like, I want to see if I can do it? Like, was it a challenge?
That was what it was. I was like, I really want to see what it's like to be unbanked, and then I thought that it would be like cool, be a cool experiment and, whatever. And so, yeah, I wanted to do it. I wanted to see what it was like, and sucks.
Sucks. The conclusion is sucks. But yeah, like you said, there's different ways to do it. Had you did it over, if you were to go back and do it over, how would you do it today?
I mean, I could still do it over, right? Like I could have Joel teach me how to do it. Like he would totally spend the time to do that, but I just haven't because I'm lazy.
Gotcha. Yeah. You also mentioned on your on Twitter too, your goal or your mission is world peace. You wanna elaborate on that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess like peace is something that, like, I don't know, I think most reasonable people want, or most like healthy people would want to see. Like I know that it's not the kind of thing that like I did it, like I'll never be the reason that world peace exists, but like we're all a part of the way that we treat each other and the way that we interact, and like our behavior towards others reflects back. So I would say like, the only real thing that I am like actively doing to achieve world peace is like being peaceful in my existence. So, I do try to like broker peace arrangements too between like, between people, warring tribes, whatever. But the most sorry?
In crypto or like in the physical world? Or?
In crypto, mostly. So like I used to do this stream called Building Bridges, and like that was really all about, establishing open lines of communication between groups. And before I was in cryptocurrency, I was doing a like applied field work, and I did frequently, even though it wasn't necessarily part of my studies, I did frequently negotiate peace treaties between tribes.
Okay. What can other people do to promote that? Because I think it's a very important concept, and it's kind of a cliche that people say, oh, you see all the memes, world peace, and you see what is it? I think it's most famous for like supermodels or something. They want to donate or what their goal is and things like that. But I think if you're really trying to pageant, there you go. Like if you're actually trying to do it, if people are out there, they really want to make that part of their mission or one of the things they want to achieve, and they really want to make a difference towards it. What would you say to them to try to, make that happen in as much as they can with whatever resources?
I mean, I think what I said is like the most effective thing that you can do is to live the way that you want to see other people live, so like if you want world peace, exist peacefully. Like I think that's the biggest thing. Like there was something recently that happened in cryptocurrency that caused like a lot of, I don't know, chaos and drama around my account, and it was like, the whole thing about cryptocurrency, about Bitcoin was, at least for a lot of the people who got in early, it was about, hedging against uncapped inflation, right? Hedging against the dollar's uncapped inflation. And then it was also about defunding the war machine, you know, by taking control of our money and taking that back from the government. So, so when there were so many Bitcoiners donating to the Ukrainian government for funds that were directly going to buy weapons and, you know, otherwise fund the war, I was like, have we completely lost the plot here? You know, like,
yeah, that's not contributing towards world peace. I would say funding weapons in general. Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like I'm saying that I'm like against donating funds. I would just say that like there has to be a better way to donate funds than to donate them directly to the government, because the government is not going to use them to help the people.
Would it be to donate to like, what are the organizations that go over there and try to like do hospitals and like try to make sure human rights are in order? All that stuff?
And I would say that like even that is like so suspect, because, you know, there have been so many like charitable organizations that end up keeping so much of the funds or like misappropriating funds. It's like, not that I'm saying that I'm against any of it, right? But like, I would much rather donate to a independent organization than a government.
Right. Yeah. It's the government's, I mean, one of the things they do is fund the military machine for better or for worse. So I'm just thinking too, just again, brokering peace. And one of the things I try to do to, you know, facilitate peace more in my life is not have, and Naval Ravikant, someone I follow a lot too, talks about this, just being able to cultivate peace by not having an emotional response to things in general. And that goes back to first principles thinking and stuff. And you can really grok it once you have this footing of like, you know, you don't want to interpret things and have a reaction immediately. You want to stop and think, okay, does this make sense? Does it not? It's so hard for people to think though, because judging is so easy. It's another quote too. Judging is easy. That's why thinking is hard. That's why most people judge. So I think just there's so much peace in the world could be cultivated just by not having an emotional response to things you hear and see and things like that, and just kind of like taking a step back. And if it's something that you believe is important to you, think about it for a moment and say, okay, like if I respond this way, how is that going to happen? You know, what's going to happen from it? That's my little way of having more peace, at least individually for my life, which I think can be an example for others too. You know, you don't see me like getting super angry if somebody says something weird to me. I'll just be like, oh, okay, well, first of all, do I care what you think? Second of all, how important is me? How important are you in my life? Should this affect me or not? Is it actually good feedback? Am I doing something that I could be doing better? And you just said it in a very terse way. Anyways, all these things is how I try to cultivate more peace. And it's what it reminded me of when you said try to be an example for some of these things. Bobby HEX, got my girls water park. Can't wait to be watched. Awesome. Thank you, Bobby. Bobby is a regular. I like the damn video. MGC. What's up, MGC? Best intro. You better not change it, man. You told me the other day you're going to change it. And
he told me a lot of people don't like it.
Who doesn't like that? I mean, who doesn't? Gotta pump it up. Gotta pump it up. You gotta pump it. I mean, I told him I got it stuck in my head for a few days. It's actually, you know, maybe you should change it just so I stop getting it stuck in my head. But that's selfish of me to ask because it's so good. So, anywho, let's talk about HEX. You want to talk about HEX? You want to talk about crypto a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
What gets HEX ungatekept?
Okay, this is funny. So I just wrote a feature on Richard for the magazine that I write for, and this was one of the topics that we talked about. So I was asking him, one of the questions that I asked him was if he thinks that like perception of him has changed in the last 2.5 years, and he said yes, and I definitely agree. And then another question that I asked, like immediately following that, was, do you think that we'll see less, like that we'll see gates unlocking? And he said, yeah, I think that the launch of PulseChain will see a lot of locks removed from gates. or that
Okay.
those weren't the exact words, but something along those lines.
He did mention that he's going to throw some money around. Like a few months ago on a stream, he wants to throw some money around. Was this year supposed to be about scaling? He also mentioned something about this year is supposed to be about scaling. I don't know if that's going to happen if we haven't launched yet for PulseChain.
So I don't know what you mean by that. I can't see Richard paying for centralized exchange listings. I wouldn't want that, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know what plans he had for throwing money around, but that's what he mentioned on one of the streams. Would that, what other ways could he, I mean, it could be develop. I mean, I bet he's spending a lot of money on developers right now.
Yeah.
So it could be that. Yeah, I mean, of course not. It wouldn't be for buying things like that. But what other things could he spend money on that wouldn't be, kind of the pay for play type stuff? Good question. Good question. Yeah, chat. Let us know. What should Richard spend some money on? That'd be that would be high integrity type stuff, of course.
I think it would be a really smart idea for him to hire like a top tier PR agent.
Yes, we all believe he needs an assistant of some sort. There's too much stuff going on.
Well, I mean, even just someone who has like the connections to Joe Rogan and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I wonder how, was it purely crowdfunded? He came to America and then all these interviews happened and stuff. Was that him just personally reaching out, do you think, or was that the community just?
I think a lot of it was the community, and a lot of it was, it's like they had, established relationships quietly over the last couple of years. And maybe it's possible that all of those things happen organically in time. I just, I don't know. I would not be opposed to, a professional agent expediting this process.
Why do you think he hasn't did it yet? You think it's just hard for him to trust people?
Maybe. I know that one time I introduced him to a very well-regarded, very connected PR agent who he didn't care for her. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's really just an issue of, I really don't know. I never asked. I never really asked him to. Can you get a link to the magazine that I write for? Yeah, it's cryptomag.finance.
Cryptomag.finance. Wow, that is quite a domain. All right, here it is. Cryptomag. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, check that out. That's the magazine. So you still currently write articles for them?
Yeah, so actually this magazine is brand new. We actually just went to press with the 3rd issue. It's a physical magazine, so it is not available to read online. You have to either subscribe and have one delivered to your home, or you can pick them up in stores. So they're sold in the US, in Walmart, 7-Eleven, and Barnes & Nobles, and some independent outlets. And then in the UK, they're sold at Salisbury's and I can't remember, a few others. WH Smith's maybe. That sounds like a, yeah.
Is there, so there's not a PDF version to download with it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I know that eventually the plan is to make it available for view online, but only to those who have subscribed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I know you mentioned you write for magazine. I thought that was something you did in the past, but okay, nice.
So I hadn't written for a professionally written for a media outlet for a really long time, and then this magazine came up, and I really liked everything that they were about, so I kind of reached out to them and was like, I don't even need to be paid, just let me write for you. And and they I don't know, I think that they thought that I probably didn't know how to write, but they were like, oh yeah, sure, send us a test article. And I sent them something and they were like, oh yeah, you can write here all you want. So yeah.
I imagine, yeah. Wow. Would you consider being Richard's publicist, anything like that?
I'm a PR agent. I'm a PR agent, but the thing is that I think that I probably don't have connections to the people that he really wants to get to, right? I don't know Joe Rogan. I don't know Joe Rogan's people. I can reach out just the same way that any of you can, but I think that he probably wants someone who has a lot more experience and a lot different and deeper connections.
If you took the job, that'd be some motivation. You'd be like, okay, I got to go do it.
Well, it's something that I think I had said that I wanted to do years ago, and people were like, no, he gets to hire someone who whatever, has more connections. And I was like, well,
no offense, but he needs to hire someone else.
Yeah. And so like,
Wow.
the thing is like, okay, you guys think that that's for the best? You think that's for the best? Like, great, do that. Do the thing that's the best,
Pressure makes diamonds. I think you could do some good stuff there.
Well, I mean, like, I'm more than willing to continue reach out efforts, just like, as a community member.
Well, speaking of that too, Richard Hart maximalism.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we've again talked about on Twitter maybe a while back. But what is the so just to be clear, you're not a Richard Hart maximalist. Is that still
no.
stance? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is the case for not being a Richard Hart maximalist?
Okay. Well, for one thing, if I were a Richard Hart maximalist, I would be unable to do my job, because that would mean that I would be unable to advocate for my clients because they're all non-Richard Hart products. How could I possibly ask for people to do media coverage or create PR materials or create marketing materials for my clients when my clients are all non-Richard Hart products if I were a Richard Hart maximalist? So there's that. Okay. There's also that so I get it, right? Like, I'm not ever going to try to convince anyone not to be a Richard Hart maximalist, but when you become a maximalist of anything, you limit your consciousness. You're like, I will not step outside of this. So I'm only looking at this and this and this, and everything outside of that is outside of my scope. I have this narrow scope. And there's a reason to have a narrow scope for sometimes, right? Like, some people thrive in vacuums, I guess. I'm not one of those people. So like, and then specifically with becoming a Richard Hart maximalist, I would say like that would prevent, or that would create an even more pressing problem for me, because that would mean that I'm unable to think for myself, and whatever Richard says or does, that means that's what I say or do. That's what I believe. And like, the need to think for myself, like, I wouldn't be in cryptocurrency if I didn't think for myself. I never would have entertained the idea of talking to the Hexicans if I didn't think for myself. So like, that is completely outside of anything that I would ever be willing to consider or do.
It's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I think I differ a little bit in the definition. And funny enough, like, I think that's something, of course, my name is RHMaximalist. But I think I'm trying to bring something better to the brand of RHMaxis too. Literally in my Twitter bio, it says first principles thinker. So I that's what I try to keep a balance of. I try to keep a balance of literally thinking from the ground up, thinking for myself, but also supporting RH products. There's a lot of things I've talked about on stream. I don't agree with every single thing he says. And I've criticized him constructively, just like a lot of other people, even being the RH maximalist. But I'm just trying to think of,
So then there's things like, if you're a Richard Hart maximalist, you close the door on communication with anyone who believes that Richard Hart maximalists are all this extremist group who are completely unopen to hearing new ideas or listening to things or thinking for themselves. So like, in my
that's something I'm trying to change, by the way. That's something, again, that's something I'm trying to change, the refreshing the brand of what it means to be RH maximalist, to make it seem like, okay, just because you're a maximalist doesn't mean that it's all the other ideals are shut out and things like that. But I think that's what most people think.
Brand of maximalism. That's maximalism.
Well, I think you can have different flavors of maximalism, though. I think there will always be people who take it to the it's kind of like libertarian. I'm a libertarian, by the way, but I identify as a pragmatic libertarian. So I don't believe in no government. And I believe in certain social programs, but I believe in doing it in a way that you can make some compromises, very, very few compromises, in order to help the overall whatever things you value to help influence those things. So I still believe the way that I portray maximalism it's a different flavor. Maybe it's not the one. I think it's not the one that most people have seen and that most people relate to and want to stay away from. I definitely understand that perspective. I wouldn't be that. I don't know. Maybe it's like far left, far right, that kind of extreme type stuff. But again, that's what I want to do with the channel too. I want to say you can be an RH maximalist by, maybe probably be helpful to score some core principles. Not looking for shiny objects outside of the ecosystem. I still like products outside of HEX, Pulse, and PulseX, but I try to stay within the community projects and the community ecosystem, things like that help those products. But I don't think I think you can be a maximalist without agreeing to everything Richard says and only focusing on the things he's doing all the time. I think there's a different flavor that can be there. At least that's what I believe. That's what I'm trying to bring.
Definitely not according to his definition of maximalism. So if you were to tweet your opinions on cryptocurrencies that he's spoken unfavorably of or just doesn't speak of, that would classify you as a non-RH maximalist.
Interesting. Well, I don't know if I have that list of things that I could even go down, but yeah, I think I want to change that. I want to change the definition a bit. I think it can be better. I think it can be healthier.
I don't know how you can change the definition of Richard Hart maximalism. I think Richard Hart would have to change the definition of Richard Hart maximalism, but
maybe. I'm not sure. I think interesting wordplay on that. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I think at least I can bring a more healthy version of it than what people have seen so far. I think that's one of my missions too, and that's the reason that's my name is I want to keep myself honest. I don't want to. Following Richard Hart for 5 years now, 5 or 6 years, way before HEX, all that stuff, and beyond his products, I like his ideals. I like Scivive. I like Fix the World. I like the things longevity, all this type of stuff. So it's not even about the crypto part. It's about, in general, the ideals he has, the things he believes in.
Right, but why do you have to call yourself a Richard Hart maximalist to keep yourself honest, right? Like, I don't identify as a Richard Hart maximalist, but have a high degree of integrity, carry it into everything that I do, remind myself of it all the time, and will never call myself a maximalist of anything.
It's a good question. I do it because I don't want to be in the bear market. I think a lot of people in the bear market, when they see HEX down, they see PulseChain hasn't launched, they see all these things, they start looking outside. They start getting bored. They start saying, I want to do something else because this isn't as fun anymore. And I want to make sure that's my name and that's part of my brand, because to tell myself, hey, if I ever see myself straying, I'm getting bored. Hey, I want to look over here. Oh, what's this new project? I want to say, what is my goal? Financial freedom. To live and breathe a lot of the ideals that I like that he's popularized. Okay, so if that's my goal, I need to go as deep in this vertical as I can. I need to I want to focus my consciousness. I don't want to play all these other games, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, that sort of thing. I don't want to get involved in all of this other noise because crypto is so big and there's so many great other projects out there and people and things like that. And it's fine to interact with them, but for myself, I want to limit my consciousness to this ecosystem because I believe it has everything I need to achieve the goals that I want to achieve.
There are people in other ecosystems who believe that too. People in ecosystems that have completely failed who believed that. And Definitely. Because their consciousness was limited, they were completely unable to see that their own thing was failing.
True. Yeah. And to that, I would say this time is different. And I know I'm not the only one to ever say that, but I
said that too. I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm saying that's what everyone thinks.
You gotta bet on some horse, and for me, it's Richard Hart.
Okay.
So, great discussion. Now you've read us some good points. Chat, let us know what you think too. If you have any other questions about maximalism, so. Very good. It's good to talk. It's good to talk the other side too, just to get some clarity. I think that's very important. Very important. Appreciate the conversation about it. Mm-hmm. What are some of your other DeFi projects that you like? That are speaking of crypto in general. What are some things you like?
So there's not a lot. The honest truth is there's not a lot of real DeFi out there, there's a lot of C DeFi or things that, I don't know, were advertised or marketed as DeFi that are not really DeFi. So definitely, HEX and the sacrificed, whatever I sacrificed for Pulse and PulseX, those are my biggest holdings, like no doubt, right? But like DEXs are a DeFi instrument, so I work for a DEX, and like so
which DEX do you work for? Just curious. QuickSwap. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. So QuickSwap recently acquired a license to operate the Algebra's V3, and they have this like really interesting concentrated liquidity model where it's not exactly like Uniswaps. So they like let you choose. So they have fluctuating fees that vary based on the volatility of the assets in the pair. So you could pay like exceptionally low fees on a stable swap, right? Like 0.01%. And then if you're trading something that's extremely volatile that day, you could pay up to like 3%. So I think that like that technology is really cool. And it's actually something that, I recently, because the Algebra licensed QuickSwap their technology. So now they can't operate on Polygon. So I was having a meeting with Algebra yesterday, and then I was like, oh, by the way, what are your plans for, other chains that you're going to go to once we get the V3 up and running here? And they were like, yeah, we're not sure. I was like, are you going to license out to other, to DEXs on other chains? Are you going to actually just launch and operate on other chains? And they were like, yeah, we ask ourselves those questions every day. We don't know. And then I mentioned, I was like, I think it would be really interesting. And, if you wanted to get a leg up in a community where there isn't a lot of building yet, there wouldn't be a lot of competition, I would definitely like look at deploying on the Pulse testnet, or even reaching out to like, PulseX developers and seeing if maybe they want to license this. I had talked to one of the developers and asked him to look at the tech specs for them to see what he thought. And he was like, actually, this is really cool tech. So then I put them in touch, and that was just as of this morning. I have no idea if anything will come from it, but it's definitely awesome. Like, I think it would be really cool to see that.
No, yeah, definitely appreciate you having that conversation. That's awesome. Yeah, the more support around this, the more people building on it or supporting it once it launches with forks and different things like that. That's all good for Pulse, in my opinion. I want to ask you too about the upcoming. I say the upcoming as if I know when the SAC phase is going to be for the PulseChain wallet, but eventually it seems like there's going to be a sacrifice phase for the PulseChain wallet, the MetaMask replacement, all that stuff. What do you think? What do you think it'll be? What do you think it'll be like? Like, can you imagine? Will there be any HEX left to sacrifice? Will people want to hang on to it? Like, well, it definitely has to launch after PulseChain, but in order to support it, in order for people to be able to sacrifice Pulse, PulseX, stuff like that. How do you think that's going to play out?
I mean, I think it will probably depend on what the market conditions are like at that time, right? So like right now, I know people are, not really wanting to let go of anything that they've got because we don't know how long this bear market, I mean, we do, but people don't, like people are like, yeah, I'm going to hold this, I'm not going to get rid of this. I'm not going to sacrifice this. So I do think that the current market conditions will play a role in how the sacrifice for the wallet goes. And then, another significant factor, we don't know anything about how the tokenomics of whatever the token that you would get for sacrificing for the wallet would be. So, that's something that has to factor. And then also, another thing to consider is like, hopefully at that point we'll have some like finite information. Okay, this many people were able to successfully write off their sacrifices for Pulse and PulseX, or this many people, had to, were still taxed on that money. Once we like have some historical data, we can say, oh, it actually works. When you sacrifice your coins and you expect nothing in return, you really can write them off. And that could play a significant role.
Oh, that's the point I hadn't even thought of, the tax implications too. Of we're kind of testing this new. Is there any other community in crypto that does sacrifice phases?
I believe that it's brand new. Like I don't think that it was introduced before.
I've never seen it before. And again, obviously I don't look at a whole bunch of different communities, but in crypto in general, I've never heard, I feel like every time I say the word sacrifice or I tweet it, I don't think other people even know what we're talking about.
Well, they definitely do. So they definitely do. But so I had to explain it so many times in the beginning to people because they're like, why is this like a religious thing? And I was like, well, for one thing, like it's just a great narrative, right? Like it's just a freaking meme, you know? But like for another, it's because the actual term sacrifice means you expect nothing for it. So like it's important for people to understand when they sacrifice, like there's so many people, right, who didn't understand that or didn't accept that when they sacked. So now they're like, where's my money? You know, like I've been waiting over a year. I've been waiting over.
PulseChain is canceled. It's canceled. Isn't tells the truth. Tells the truth.
Give me back my money. And it's like, but you sacrificed it. It's literally not your money anymore. So like I had to, you know, I explained it a lot of times.
Sacrifice means
don't be a nerd girl maximalist, Crypto Gains Club. Don't. I don't want that responsibility.
You heard it here. You don't want. She doesn't want it on her shoulders. Don't do that. We'll go back to Crypto Mag until the next good comment comes up. It's something that you think there'll be more communities doing sacrifices once they see how this goes. Maybe we're kind of like testing the water. You know, hopefully nothing bad's going to happen. But
I can't imagine that this wouldn't catch on, right? Especially if, you know, it plays out that there's no negative backlash for the OA itself sacrificing and being able to, you know, deduct tax liability for billions of dollars, right? Like I cannot imagine that it wouldn't catch on. The only element that I can see people trying to change is the word itself. And I don't know how you can, like, I mean, maybe there's a great synonym out there that you could, you know, come up with, but like, I don't know. I don't know that it will work.
I don't know if we have the power to change that word though.
No, I don't mean us. Like, I mean, other communities, I could see like other people wanting to accomplish the same thing, but not wanting to like give a nod to that they got the, you know?
Well, let me take a look at thesaurus.com. What else is there? Sacrifice, offering, oblation, maybe. What we got? Abandonment. I mean, abandonment, that's kind of I think that's a legal term in some jurisdictions as well. Surrender, renouncing, forfeiture. Forfeiture sounds official. Yielding, maybe confusing though. Abdication, surrendering. Yeah, and there's some other words. Brought to you by thesaurus.com. What the Minecraft is. Yep. That is true. There are a bunch of people who I did a video, my most criticized video so far, I think. I said the title was PulseChain 2023 ? Oh my God. Did I trigger some people? That was, and it was just a conversation about, you know, would it be better to launch? Would it be, you know, like what would the benefits be? All these different things, but people don't like, you're the reason Richard's not, you're the reason it's delayed. I'm like, I'm the reason? I don't think so.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that I'm that powerful, right? Like,
exactly. I mean, it's not, I don't think it actually meant that. They just wanted to vent and then people say stuff. So
yeah.
It was just funny. That was like, really? That's what you came up with for the comment. All right. Fiat on-ramps. That's something that is like this, it's like mystery of how do we do it or something. There's always this way to do it. You know, the credit card thing, and that's recently Simplex, Richard talked about. I mean, there's kind of ways to do it, but when is there going to be like a buy button on go.hex.com? Like when is there?
So I think that it's not an issue of having the technology to do it. It's the licensing to do it. So like there's all kinds of, you have to have a license you have to have a money transmitter license, which is difficult to get, very, very expensive, you know, all those kinds of things. So what, you know, most people do rather than try to get their own money transmitter license is to use a platform that already has one, right? Like to get integrated on Coinbase, to get integrated on another exchange that has a fiat on-ramp. Like most of those exchanges charge listing fees, huge ones, astronomical ones, and require that they be paid in the tokens. So about launch compared to a bit, we're still waiting. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
It was just talking about the expectations. People having expectations. And they shouldn't have them. I think that's what it.
Yeah. I mean, and that was the whole thing. Like it was there, just people even using the words like PulseChain is delayed. It's like, but it's not. There was never a date.
That was clarified recently by Richard. Yeah, that's a good point. But we've got to have so many millionaire or even billionaire HEX. I mean, you probably can't sell it all to get $1 billion. But hey, maybe you can borrow against it. A lot of rich people in HEX and stuff. Why hasn't anyone bought a bank yet and just did it? I mean, where are the money licenses? Like, why is this
like I said, money transmitter licenses are not easy to come by. You would have to not only have the funds to do it, but have the political capital necessary to attain it. And like, it doesn't come easy.
I'd like to see that broken down. I'd like to get somebody on the show that has either got one or is somewhere a professional in that industry and just say, hey, what does it take? What does it take to do this stuff? That would be interesting to see that process. And it may talk some people into even getting one after they get off their yacht, stop being so rich, get us a bank. The other thing you talked about too, deal with the government. It's true. The other thing you talked about too is crypto industry changing. What can you tell us about like what you're seeing around the industry abroad that's been changing, maybe in light of all the hacks, the sanctioning of Tornado.cash? Do those things play a role too? Like what do you see going on?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like I think we're sort of seeing a like return to original core values of cryptocurrency, which were like, valuing projects that don't sell out, that don't pay for listings on centralized exchanges, that aren't, paying all the big influencers to say nice things about them. I do see this like broader trend towards like DAO incentivization of content creation. So where they're not like, the projects themselves are not controlling funds and deciding, okay, we're going to incentivize this creator because they already have a huge following. It's more like creators have to take the initiative to create the materials themselves with no expectation that they'll be compensated, and then waiting for the community to sort of say like, oh yeah, we should incentivize that because that was good content and we want to see more like it. So like those kinds of things are like what I think we're seeing.
It seems like every 2 or 3 years some big events happen, and they all in a bunch too. Like this bear market, it's people talk about, when's the bottom, all this stuff. And remember, I don't think Max Payne, I think we need to get Max Payne before that happens. But wow, I mean, the last couple months I've been like, all right, I think we're maybe 80% Max Payne. Like this seems like there's a lot of like high profile events happening in crypto, as far as, what we just talked about too with regulation and all the sanctioning and just the institutional action. BlackRock is in now apparently.
I don't know why everybody's like celebrating that. I don't feel like that's something that's worth celebrating.
Yeah, I mean, so give us the pros and cons of BlackRock being in.
I mean, the pros are more liquidity, more money in the overall ecosystem, more like acceptance of it within the mainstream people who believe that like BlackRock is good or BlackRock knows everything that there is to know about money, or that they should follow BlackRock's moves. But then, the downside is like BlackRock controls so much capital, and people want to say that cryptocurrency is capital, like crypto, it's so big now because we, reached, whatever $1 trillion in this last cycle. But compared to legacy finance, we're nothing. BlackRock can completely manipulate this market, like because of how much they control.
But what if they manipulate it to go higher?
Well, I mean, most certainly they will, like most certainly they will manipulate it to go higher. The question, the thing is that because BlackRock also has such sway in the media and in politics, it's not like they're going to use their influence so that to encourage people to take profits when things are up. They're going to try to maximize their own holdings. That's what they do. That's what a corporation does. That's what a corporation has to do. So it's like they're going to continually manipulate the price up and up and up, have people buying as the price is going up, and then drop it all the way back down.
So you think any large, corporation, like industry titan coming into a smaller space like this compared to everything else is bad because you think people are they're not going to get as good a deal as they got before? Because a lot of people been getting dumped on regardless of BlackRock.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that it's going to be that much easier it will be so easy for BlackRock to manipulate the market.
Okay. Yeah, it's I'm definitely no BlackRock fan, but I'm just curious to how these things are. Is this the what type of event would you classify this broadly? Would it be like a +1 on max pain, or would it be just kind of a notable event that's going to have future ramifications? How would you look at this in 2 years? What are we going to be saying about BlackRock and crypto?
I mean, I don't know. Who knows, right? We're going to see in 2 years. So, probably what we're seeing is right. So, did Bitcoin's price even move when BlackRock announced that they were getting involved? No, right? It didn't.
Didn't do much. That's true.
No, it didn't. So, was BlackRock already involved before they made that announcement? Yes. Yes, they were. So I guess
Definitely.
We'll probably see more people from legacy finance adopting cryptocurrency because BlackRock says that they can. But then we'll also see BlackRock supporting certain things and not supporting other things, and that kind of manipulation.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think this next cycle, regardless of how long we go sideways, is going to be. I don't know when it's not going to be one to remember. I think it's going to be. It's going to be interesting. As far as projects go in the RH ecosystem, broadly, PulseChain, things building on HEX. What are some of your favorite projects and things you think have the most utility? Price performance, things like that coming up or already existing.
I mean, I think you're probably wanting me to comment on Hedron, especially because someone said that in the comments, right?
I didn't see that, but if you want to comment on Hedron, it is tend to go crazy right now the last 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I had bought some Hedron. I had Hedron from the free claims and everything, and then I had purchased some additional Hedron a couple of weeks ago, and it's it's exciting that there's encapsulated stakes was something that was actually discussed really early on in HEX, and people were, I don't know, some people in the community were like, oh no, this is horrible for HEX. And it was but this was always going to happen. Having this as a critical infrastructure piece, we always knew that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when.
Yeah, the NFT portion of it. Other than Hedron, what are some of the things you like in the ecosystem?
I sacrificed for Pulse and PulseX. I didn't sacrifice for anything else.
Okay.
Mostly because there's just not enough established trust to really sacrifice, right?
Yeah, it's hard to see things that aren't built yet, other than unless of course of all the people to trust in the ecosystem, of course Richard's at the top of the list as far as we think he's going to get stuff done. But yeah, there are a lot of projects that don't even have stuff on testnet yet, and people, rightfully so, are kind of hey, I know maybe there's some strategy behind it. Maybe they don't want to give away certain features and stuff, but it's definitely good marketing to have something on at least the PulseChain testnet that you can play with. A lot of people at SAC, they're kind of whoa, where's roadmap dev? When happening? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, and then from certain teams, people who were front and center, moving to other teams. That's I don't know. That's kind of suspect. I mean, I own, I hold both of our I don't know, native meme dog meme coins. So I have Pulse Doge Win and I have Pulse Doge Coin.
Okay. Which one's
Like,
winning?
sorry?
Which one's winning?
I believe that Pulse Doge Coin appears to be winning.
Yeah, I haven't checked on the win. I never did get involved with that. I followed PLSD for a while with Gunther and folks. So yeah, I didn't know what the other one's prize performance or anything was, but I imagine it's hard to beat PLSD as far as the dog beam coin category right now. It seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so many of the projects, building on top of Pulse and Hex and everywhere. I hope it all succeeds. I'm definitely not rooting against anyone.
There we go. PP is winning later. Maybe have you heard of poor pleb coin?
No.
That is a coin. Hexy Bass. There's PP coin now. Lots of Red Bull theme on that as well. Question from Tintop. Any way to turn tribalism into a tool to bring more people to Hex and PulseChain?
I think that almost certainly did happen already. So, we could say that tribalism was a negative thing, but in reality, it did create this really strong bond among the early Hexicans who felt like they were rejected from, I don't know, establishment crypto. And that, while it turned a lot of people away from the community, it also attracted a lot of people to the community. So, and it made the community itself very, very strong. So we've already seen it be a great tool.
There we go. Yeah, I thought we had another question. I think that's it on the questions. Very cool. Nerd Girl, it has been a pleasure. Excellent conversation. Really got my brain working today too. Good to meet you. Good to see you in person-ish over video. We'll continue to follow what you're doing in the ecosystem. What is let me put the crypto magazine on here again. If anyone wants to subscribe to our articles or buy the physical print magazine, which is pretty cool. I want a physical print. I'm a physical print person. I listen to audiobooks, but it's really hard for me to read on Kindle or the PDF versions and stuff. So I'm either going to listen to an audiobook or a print book. And so, yeah, I still enjoy the smelling of fresh book and seeing things in print. That's cool that there's a paper for that in crypto.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great. I'm excited about contributing and all that.
Awesome. Well, have a excellent weekend. It is the weekend, everyone. Go follow NrgGrl at NrgGrl007, the way it's spelled. As
no vowels. NrgGrl007, no vowels.
That's the way you say it. I like it. No vowels. Okay. And do you have a YouTube channel as well?
I do, but I never post anything. So.
Okay. Go to her secret YouTube channel if you really want to get some NrgGrl, or maybe some of her old videos and stuff too. Follow on Twitter if you want to know more about it. Go to the cryptomag.finance, check out the magazine. And then me at RHMax, just the way it sounds. Follow me on Twitter. Smash all the buttons. And I think what do we got next week? We got Optimal Coco at Optimal Coco next Monday, talking about nothing to do with crypto. My first non-crypto show. I mean, we'll throw crypto in there a little bit. But she's a very interesting philosophical person. And I really want to get into game theory and a lot of the stuff around that with her. So awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. And we are